This is
The Grove Podcast.
Hello, my name is Tabs and welcome to episode 129 of the Grove Podcast. Now, I hope you're all doing very, very well and looking forward to seeing top of the table Arsenal back in action at the weekend now that the October international break is done and dusted, which is the good news. The bad news is that the next international break is only 4 weeks away, but let's not worry about that for now. Let's focus on the Arsenal. And joining me today is our resident international break expert is Jamie. And I do want to quote from last night: "Fucking hell, is there still international shite going on?" Jamie, how are you?
Yeah, I mean, it does sum it up, to be honest, mate. Like, it's not my favourite time of the year, is it? Let's face it. Several times throughout the year, I just find it all very needless and pointless these days. But yeah, that's what it is.
But there we go. And the fact that even though we did talk about it on the last pod, you instantly forgot and then got annoyed with when you remembered and put that in the chat as well. So
The thing, do you know, actually, for some reason, it winds me up more than like, I think if we just said the boys are having a rest for a couple of weeks, I'd be bang on with that. You know what I mean? I'm totally up for this. You know, the lads play too much and all that kind of stuff. It's just crap having a version of football that I don't particularly enjoy. You know what I mean? It's like rubbing my nose.
Didn't Scotland win a game or two over the international?
Have you seen Steve Clarke's team?
I've
seen the way that Scotland play. We've got about 17 decent class centre midfielders and about 4 left backs, and out of all that, he manages to conjure up a team that just it's watching it. To be honest, is like I think I had more fun watching Stoke.
Wow. Okay, that's saying something.
We're talking
given the history.
Actually, no. Pulis is West Brom. Stoke actually did have some entertaining moments. Pulis is West Brom, the one where he put 8 centre halves on the pitch. It's like watching that, honestly. It's like watching that. So, it's all boring. Okay. It's all rubbish.
Well, there we go. Well, good job this isn't the Scotland Steve Clarke podcast. Instead, so look, in today's show, we will look back a little bit just because their Arsenal players did play and they did a few things for their respective nations. And we'll just take a quick look at that. We'll cover some of the Arsenal-related news that came out over the last couple of weeks. And then we're going to look at the fixtures between now and the next international break. We can't not talk about it. What to expect and how we'll manage the squad and the team, and then we'll finish with a Fulham preview, the game taking place on Saturday early evening. So, look, before we jump into that, as always, if you would follow, subscribe, leave a rating, comment, all the usual stuff on the podcast out, that would be greatly appreciated, and it does really help. And over the international break, I did take a look at how we were doing. You know, we're a small independent podcast. You know, there's 4 or 5 of us doing this as a bit of a hobby, and we seem to be doing all right. We seem to be doing okay. So we get a good number of listeners on a weekly basis, and people are listening quite deep into the show, which apparently is a good sign according to ChatGPT. And so that's thanks obviously to our regular guests and co-hosts like Jamie today, Kusiva, Ian, Moz, but primarily thanks to you for listening. So once again, thank you for being here, and anything you can do to help spread the word is always greatly appreciated. So anyway, enough of that. Let's get on with things. So the international break did happen. Apart from the 30 seconds of Saka's goal that you just told me about, did you catch anything else about the international break? Is there anything that crossed your purview over the last couple of weeks?
I saw Ez's goal. Yeah.
That was another good goal.
And I heard that Merino scored yet again.
He did indeed. He did.
Yeah, see, look at all the things I know about the international break. I did actually. I mean, for my sins, for any football cliche fans out there, I did watch both of Scotland's games as well, and so again, I did
under duress. It's under duress.
Well, I mean, I was in Glasgow during one of them, so it sort of felt like it would be a good idea to do. But yeah, having spent the weekend in Glasgow, I felt like I ought to. Yeah. Anyway, so no, that's really all I know. I know that I didn't enjoy anything that I watched of Scotland despite the victories, and I know that I saw 2 Arsenal players score and heard another one did. That's lovely,
Very
isn't
good.
it?
It is. It is always lovely.
Nobody
So
got injured, I'm
yeah.
fairly sure, right? That's the thing, isn't it? How long's it been since we've had somebody come back off international break properly crocked? It's been quite a while, hasn't it?
Yeah, I guess it was the last November one. I don't think anyone got injured during the international
Yeah, it's
breaks
not.
this
It's
year.
just not like the old days, is it?
No,
I mean, that's the plus side, isn't it? Really, it's like at least now they seem relatively boring. It's like just a few players go away, play very well for their international teams because they're all top class talents, and nobody gets like season-ending injuries. That's that's something to
but
celebrate.
we are all scarred by it because of last season, because of what happened. Our one
It's not
thing
last
is,
season I'm scarred by. I'm
yeah,
scarred by the Wenger years where we just used to like just regularly just lose half the team every single international break. Right?
but it's there. So the first thing we check is not goals scored or well, the
Yeah.
first thing we check is minutes played, and are they coming back on crutches? So yeah, as far as scoring and how they played, I don't think anyone cares. I think it's just like, come back in one piece. Thank you very much. So yeah, we had 19 first team players out there, and as you said, we seem to have got through unscathed, and some of them did quite well. Most of the time, I think it was non-taxing minutes. I think, and the only one that maybe suffered a bit was Big Vic, who didn't score again for Sweden, who now look unlikely to qualify for the World Cup, and they sacked their manager. Is it Jean Dahl Thomason? No, is that him? No, he's Danish. I don't know. Anyway, they sat there.
Doesn't mean he can't be the Swedish manager. Let's not
No,
be
true.
dismissive.
Very dismissive.
But,
Sorry, yes.
although I can't, if Jon Dahl Thompson is now managing somebody and I don't know about it, I now feel the need to Google that after this.
I'm googling it right now. Sweden's sacked manager. It was Jean Dahl Thomason. So I saw the face. He actually looks.
Is he still really baby faced?
Yeah, and he looks like the German player who played for Real Madrid who retired recently.
Yeah, I remember he
number 10. Who's the German player that played for Real Madrid? Number 10.
Tony Kroos.
Yeah, he looks like Tony Kroos. He looks like a young version of Tony Kroos.
Yeah, I remember he was at Newcastle. Like, he was quite a big signing, wouldn't it? Yeah, okay. No, I just remember him being very baby faced. He looked like he was like younger than me when I was about 14. So yeah.
And he still looks younger than you. He may be younger than you. I don't know. So Sweden's not really having a great time of it, and Big Vic and Isak as well. There was a bit of travel for the likes of our Brazilian contingent going to South Korea and Japan, but that finished on Tuesday, so plenty of time to get over the jet lag. So there we go. Look, as we said, the highlights were, I would say, Saka's goal versus Wales. Saka just doing Saka things, and I think if there was one tweet or one post going on the socials, it was literally those 5 words that were just everywhere. And I believe he's now Arsenal's top goal scorer for England, or whichever way around it is. I think he's that, or whoever currently played for Arsenal.
Also speaks to the overlooking of multiple Arsenal number 9s over the years, that doesn't it?
Yeah,
Ian Wright, Alan Smith.
Yeah, Ian Wright and stuff like that. Who never really sort of took off for England. And then we have Rice, who was also captain for the Wales game. Eze scored against Latvia. Nice goal, as I said. Ran into the box, cut into on his left, and finished low into the corner. So that was nice. And MLS got a full game versus Latvia. So again, it's good for him to get some minutes in the legs and play a full game. So that was our England contingent. As you said, Merino scored again. He scored twice against Bulgaria, 2 headers, and some stats for you. So that's 6 goals in the last 4 Spain matches. And he's contributed 42% of Spain's goals in World Cup qualifying so far. And no player has a higher percentage for their nation. And against
play up front for Sweden, they might qualify.
Well, I think so. There we go. Just change your passport, Mikael. And against Bulgaria, he had 65 touches, 2 goals, 5 shots, 2 on target, 2 big chances created, 5 key passes, 41 out of 47 accurate passes, 5 out of 7 ground duels won. He won a penalty, and SofaScore rating was 10. Now, I'm assuming that's out of 10. I don't know too much about SofaScore ratings, but. So, I mean, the question is, first, Spain have a lot to thank Arsenal for, because had it not been for his stint up front last season, I don't think he'd be as prolific as for them as he is now. But could you imagine if this player was out there and he wasn't an Arsenal player, what would be saying about him? And I'm sure the word defensive would not be anywhere near the conversation.
No, that's in fairness. I think he never was a defensive midfielder, was he? But yeah, no. I mean, it's great. Like, fair play to him, scoring loads of goals against relatively dross teams, admittedly. But well, I say that again as an international football expert, and I think Turkey and Bulgaria seem like fantastic opposition these days. But no, in all seriousness, it's great to see. It's lovely for him. I mean, we have seen the quality of his finishes for both Spain and Arsenal. Consistently, he strikes the ball so cleanly. He's so good in the air. His header the other week against Newcastle was just absolutely stunning. Okay. And it's hard not to think that there is a world out there where he played centre forward his whole career and he could have been an absolute machine, right?
And yet we still don't know how to fit him into our Arsenal team without moaning. So it's like, well, not me.
Number 9.
Number 9. Okay. Yeah. Well, his record's better than Gyökeres at the moment. But yeah, I don't know. He's an odd player. He's a great, and maybe you do get these players who are great for their national team, but maybe he's still a very good player domestically, but just doesn't perform at level, doesn't have the same results, and it's happened through time. So look, I'm happy to have him at Arsenal. He plugs a lot of gaps where we need it. Here's a bit of a square peg in a round hole at times. But he was my player of the season last year, so I'm all for it, and I'm pleased to have him as an option. And how he fits into the team, we'll get onto it later. But yeah, the fact that he's ours is great. So. Then we had Martinelli scored for Brazil in their 3-2 loss to Japan. I think that was his first goal for them in over a year.
He's on fire. There we go.
There we go. Well, he was Arsenal's player of the month as well, which is amazing for a substitute.
Was he?
Yeah,
okay.
Apparently so.
Wow.
So I think voted for by on the Arsenal.com. And then when we're talking about our younger lads, Ethan got a couple of assists for England's under 21s in the win against Moldova. And Max Dowman is now the youngest ever goal scorer for England under 19s. He scored. I'm not too sure which game he was playing in, but he broke Ryan Sessegnon's record set in 2016. And it was a 7-0 friendly win against Wales. So there we go. So Max Dowman scored in a win against Wales, but still incredible. 15-year-old scoring at under 19s. So that's amazing. So and then Mosquera captain Spain under 21s against Finland. So I think all well and good. And yeah, I think, as you said, the main thing is they all come back healthy. A few players played the full 90. So the only concerns, Calafiori, because they were meaningful games, against Israel and against Estonia. Italy, I think, needed to win those to stay in touch with Norway, and he played the full 90 on those. So even though okay, we're back on. Yeah, a bit of a technical area there. Anyway, and I think Jamie was just about to slag off Italy there. So something happened to his computer and kicked him out. So yes, they were meaningful games. Maybe not the toughest of opposition, but Italy also aren't that great at the moment. And we have not been to the last.
That's precisely what I mean, to be honest, mate. If you're having meaningful games against those two, then yeah.
And Italy have not.
It's not exactly the days of Bobby Baggio, is it?
No, and we haven't been to the last 2 World Cups. So having that. You having that pressure on you, is a big deal. And to be honest, if we go there, we're not going to pull up any trees anyway. So we'll see. So yeah, he played a couple of full 90s. Willow also played a couple of full 90s. Merino the same, and I think the only one was Victor in search of the goal. So, but majority, good minutes for some, not having to play the 4 minutes. It was good that Gabriel didn't play in Japan, so he was resting up, and at least the England boys didn't get pushed to the limits. So of course they started because they're the best players, but yeah, even against Latvia they were able to come off early. So I think we did okay, some good minutes and some good confidence builders for much of the team. And that's that for 4 weeks. So we don't have to worry about that, or you don't have to worry. You don't have to remember, forget, and remember and forget again for another few weeks. So during the international break, there was a couple of bits of news that came out. I think the first bit was there was talk of a Raya contract, an improved contract. So not an extension, but just an improvement on the terms. That was Sammy Mockbell from BBC. So I think it was sort of done in the summer, but hasn't been announced yet. So very similar to what we did with Trossard. So thoughts on that? Thoughts on just a bump in salary, bump in terms?
I thought we had at some point. Yeah, it's fine, isn't it? Like,
Okay, another technical mishap, but I think we're all sorted now. Transferred to mobile technology, so hopefully that will be all good. Right, yeah. So look, for me, getting Raya in, not getting Raya in, but giving him a bump in his wages, sort of improving the terms of his deal. I mean, it's what our club does. We like to look after our players. Unlike certain clubs, I think it makes sense. It sort of rewards him for what he's done, but it's also a measure of how valuable he is in the team, and it sort of brings him in line with other people of his stature, of his ilk in the team. And look, we gave new bumper contracts to MLS and Ethan, and that was great to do. But you sort of can't have someone of rare stature within the team, of his importance to the team, being closer to them on wages than to the sort of the top tier players. So I think it's great. I think it reinforces the culture we have at the club, brings stability, and as much as we like the shiny new things, taking care of the ones we have at the club is really important, and we've done really well. We've done Saliba, done Gabriel, Saka's on the cards.
he's got to be like top something in the world, right? He might be the closest to being the best player in his position in the world of anyone in the team.
Yeah,
I wonder. Because I don't know who, name a few goalkeepers that are better than him at the moment, and you've got like a couple of debatables. But you look at the guys, comparable statistics against anybody else out there at the moment, and it's just absolutely phenomenal. And you look at what he does in games.
Yeah,
he's brilliant.
Yeah, all round. Donnarumma, great shot stopper, and has that presence and stuff like that.
And yet David Raya, I think, has like one of the highest shot stopping rates in the whole world, right? Like for top flight, it's absolutely unreasonable.
Yeah. So no, I think it's great. I think it's great that we've done it. I think it's good for the club, and I think, like I say, there's stability. You just can't have that sort of hanging around that that. And look, it gives us a tremendous base to build from. So off the pitch we're doing a great job. Now we just need to translate that to on the pitch. And again, it was similar with Trossard. No real issues with there. The other big story to come out last week was around the stadium upgrades. The Telegraph reported Arsenal have been and are looking into potentially expanding the stadium. There's talk about raising the roof, changing the pitch of the upper and lower tiers, trying to get in an extra 10k seats to bring us up to about 70k capacity, which I think is about the third largest that would be in the country, or third or fourth largest in the country, behind Wembley and Old Trafford. So might unfortunately mean playing at Wembley again for a couple of seasons, but yeah, other than making it easier to get seats, if that's the case. Any thoughts on that, on the stadium upgrade?
I mean, it feels like it's inevitable. They've got to look into it. Right? The demand at the moment massively outstrips the supply, and some of that is due to recent success. I think there's probably some other factors around it as well, but certainly I would expect if there's any reasonable way to be able to do it in such a way as that they can guarantee that investment's going to pay out pretty quick, pretty sharpish, then they're going to do it, right. And certainly another 10k extra seats in the Gaff is desperately needed by the Bayern fan base that's desperate to get inside. And, it'd just be great to see if of all those 10,000 extra seats they could failed to spare one for our mate Normie, who's been patiently waiting in the bottom couple hundred people in the waiting list for about 3 years at this point.
Yeah, they're only going to build 286 extra seats.
No, it's
Not
the 286 that go to season to get old, as the rest are all reserved for ballots.
Exactly. Well, look, of course we're for it. I mean, we've been there 19 years. When we did build it, it was an amazing stadium, state of the art at the time. But then stadiums have gone to a new level since then. And look, all for it. If it does go to fans, or help make cheaper tickets or concessions, and that it's just not extra corporates or high-end tickets, or for all the travel companies, which I'm sure will still their share will get increased as a result. And look, we've done a really good job with the arsenalification of the stadium. The wraparounds that we did last year or 2 years ago have been really, really fantastic addition and really sort of help build our identity. The only trouble is that our location, we're on an island. We've got rail lines and residential blocks either site. The Ashburton Grove site and Islington have really strict planning rules, and so we're limited on physical
bloody
space.
Railways is a big part of it, isn't it?
Well,
yeah,
the railways, noise restrictions. Then we've got the transport and safety addition aspects of it. And then the match day disruption over a number of years. Imagine you're a business there and you're relying on the Saturday crowds, and suddenly for 2 years they're no longer there. So I don't think it's going to be an easy one.
I've mentioned it to Freya, my missus. She'll go absolutely nuts. She already hates the fact that whenever she tries to get parked up, whenever the Arsenal are on, it's just ends up having to park about 3 streets away. So honestly,
it's
just end things. Like she already holds me accountable for the entire fan base.
Oh, okay, so it's all your fault.
It is.
So, I mean, look, it's not going to happen anyway for another 5-6 years, even if it did, because all the legal stuff, all the permission, all of that, there's so much going involved. And look, we can't even get a 5G mast sorted, at the moment. So, and then we looked at safe standing, and that's stalled as well. So, yeah, it's a tough one. I think, we would like it, and if it benefited the fans, if we could improve it. But even things like, you get the nice wraps around, Bayern Munich or Real Madrid or even Tottenham, and even like the one we saw in Bilbao, there's lighting restrictions. So even if we did have one of these like LED wraps and stuff like that, there's only so much we can do with that on a night game. So, I think this one's, going to take a long time coming.
I mean, it sounds like it's. I would imagine it's past explorative. I mean, that's a big part of it, right? How far past explorative is it? But I think it's something certainly that's, it feels inevitable. It feels like it's the right thing to do. I like the idea of an expansion here rather than a move out of Islington. I personally,
despite what Freya says,
I want to be where we are. Yeah. I want to walk to the stadium, you bastards. So, that's nice. But also as well, I mean, there is something as well, and I wonder if it's something to reflect on, but I was just thinking about it the other day, about the fact that I wonder if a big part of it as well, in terms of the difference between when we moved to the Gaff 19 years ago and now, is not just about success, because we had a season ticket waiting list at Highbury, but when we moved, it nudged almost the entire of that waiting list off at the time. What is it that's turned that waiting list quite so great? And a part of that more recently is certainly success. But there is also on top of that as well, I think, kind of a bit of a good news story, I feel personally, at least anyway, in when I compare the crowd today compared to the crowd that was at Highbury. And I wonder if a big part of it as well is actually the additional diversity of the crowd, the fact that it no longer feels, and whether that's the case at the Arsenal specifically or in English football more broadly, but it no longer feels as much of a reserve for the kind of 20 to 50-year-old white man, effectively, which I think is also another positive as well, because ultimately that will absolutely affect demand as well, because whether it be that we make it easier for younger kids, especially kids that aren't necessarily coming with with fellas that fall into that particular age bracket as well. It'd be for different people of different ethnicities, people of different backgrounds, and a lot more women at the games these days. It does mean ultimately there's a much bigger demand than there used to be. In addition to the factors that already make more 20 to 50-year-old blokes potentially apply for tickets than used to. So that's kind of just a little small tiny reflection that I did kind of have when I was just thinking about, my God, how is it that season ticket waiting list has got so great? And I do wonder if a part of that is just generally more people are more comfortable going to the football now. I think that's not a bad thing whatsoever. But just one that occurred to me whilst I was thinking about the entire conundrum of, how we've ended up having such a great big season ticket waiting list. I think it was around about the time I actually got the email telling me that we'd not bloody moved on the season ticket waiting list yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one. Yeah, you're right. It's up to 100,000 now, and I think even Liverpool have stopped taking season ticket, submissions or get on the waiting list. And what's the point? For me, the bigger issue is like, how do we? Okay, we're growing our fan base, and it depends what the club wants. And they've obviously, there's all the chatter. Are they only interested in tourist fans because they go to a club shop, pay the money? They're one-time fans, so they're going to spend big every day, as opposed to your regular who doesn't. But you still need to grow your local fan base, and if you can't afford to go, and if you're priced out of going, that's why it's really important that if we do get this extra 10,000, a big chunk of it has to be either concessions, going to the kids, make it affordable, because these are the fans of the future, and because it is, people are getting priced out of it. It's so much, and it's now becoming, going to a game is an event rather than being, I want to be going regularly, I want to feel part of something on a regular basis. It's now becoming, the prices are such that, I can only afford to go 2 or 3 times a season or something like that. And that's not really how. And then this feeds into the chatter about the atmosphere, which is a whole new different topic. But again, I think there's still an element of there having the local people going to the local club and all the rest of it. It's that juxtaposition with it's the juxtaposition with the globalization of Arsenal versus football is inherently has the origins of football is the local community. And you need the local community as much as you need the other aspect of it, and maybe even more so for that day to day, for that match day sort of experience. Because I'm sure we would not have the people traveling to Arsenal if there wasn't that match day experience generated by the regular local fans, because that's why you're there. It's great. I was listening to an NFL podcast, and the person on that went to the Arsenal West Ham game. And he was in the West Ham end, and he was just saying, the West Ham fans were just singing all the time, even when they're 2-0 down, they're having a laugh, which you don't get in the NFL. It's a different sort of fandom, and so if you don't have that, which is generated by certain types of supporters and stuff like that, then then the other people aren't going to come. So there needs to strike a balance there.
I couldn't agree more. And there's part of that comes down to the overall gentrification of football, which actually has this sort of symbiotic nature with the point that I make as well. There's some plus sides to the overwhelmingly positive that the game is inclusive, or that people feel able to come at the football from every background, gender, etc. But like at the same time, what does happen, or what probably made that happen in part, is the gentrification of football. And what then comes with that is some of those negative factors about the gentrification, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of those negative factors are that ultimately we are, as you say, pricing a lot of people out. Certainly, I know if I wouldn't have gone to any Arsenal games that I went to as a kid now. There's no way that maybe some of the League Cup games at the most, but certainly the games that I was exposed to as a child, there's absolutely no way would have been within budget for us. It was just not possible at all. So those factors are, that is a different conversation. Again, it's a cross-football one, but it is one where each individual club has its own responsibilities and has its own things that it should be doing to try and promote itself within its local community to, exactly the ways that you say. So yeah, no, I could not agree more, mate, at all.
Yeah.
And I'd
So
love to hear if they were to come out and say 1,000 of these are going to be going to local school kids. I'd be more than happy that the little bastards taking up seats that I could be moving ahead of the season ticket waiting list with.
You're going to piss people off and you're going to make people happy. It's always going to be the way with
It's
this.
all right. They're local school kids and I live local. I can beat one of them up and take their ticket in it. It's
Exactly.
gonna be fine.
There we go. Give me your phone, mate. There we go.
Actually, no, I wouldn't be messing with our local school kids, in fairness, mate. Actually, they're pretty nasty.
We're running them up. Right. I think we're disappearing down a rabbit hole we don't want to go down. So and look, we know it's on our minds. We added people to the board recently, and one of them is a property specialist, and he was involved in the building of our owner's SoFi Stadium out in LA. Spent $5 billion on that, and what a joy of us that is just the most incredible stadium. It's just to see from a distance the shape of a ram's head, to then go inside the way they're dug into the ground, to the screen, to everything is just ridiculous. So I think it's on their minds. I don't think we'll ever achieve that, but let's see what we can do, and money talks.
Careful what you wish for, mate. We'll be out in Essex in no time.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah. Well, unless we can do something there, the only way we are going to be able to expand is if we move from Islington. So it's which is something that no one wants, and it's a tough one. So let's see.
Unless actually, there was a small part of me that wouldn't have a massive problem with like moving into Haringey and just really pissing off Tottenham at that. You know what I mean? It's only a couple of miles up the road, and it could really, really annoy him at that stage.
That would be good. I can imagine. The only reason we're here is to piss off Tottenham. There we go. Okay, and then the last sort of major bit, well, not even major bit, new Arsenal adjacent news was Jack Wilshere became Luton manager. So good luck to him. A club on the decline following their Premiership season 2 seasons ago, and actually they're the last team to score 3 goals against Arsenal. A little fact, but they've had 2 relegations and now mid-table in League One. So Jack Wilshere sort of getting a proper stab at the managerial job. So good luck to him. I know you're one for Jack and what he's done at Arsenal. So I thought you'd be quite pleased.
I absolutely love Jack Wilshere, as you know. He is, it's been a fantastic excuse to just relive the Norwich goal all over and over, and the Barcelona highlights. Just relive them, No worries. Champagne football down at the Atters, I'm sure.
Let's hope he doesn't make the mistake of like the likes of Hoddle and Henry, that he's still better than the players that he's coaching. He gets utterly frustrated with them for not being able to do the basics, or what he considers the basics. So good luck to Jack. So there we go. That's a bit of Arsenal news covered. So on to what's happening next with Arsenal. So we've now got a run of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fixtures between now and the November international break. We've got 4 in the Premier League, 2 in the Champions League, and 1 in the EFL Cup. And so we play Fulham this weekend, and then we got. So let's start with the Premier League. I just want to get your thoughts on how we're gonna fare in these games, and what you expect from these games. Not sort of deep dive into it, but whether we should be winning and the toughness. So if you start with the Premier League, so we got Fulham away this weekend. Then following weekend we got Palace at home. Then we got Burnley away, and then Sunderland away. So 3 away, 1 at home. What are you expecting from those 4 Premier League games?
Get Fulham out of the way and you're home dry, I reckon. Fulham is just one of those games, isn't it? It's been a recent bogey game for us. We don't like it. It's got those couple of emotional players in there as well, with Wobes and with Emile Smith-Rowe, guys that I love to see play football, but not so much against the Arsenal. That's the one that kind of worries me on an almost more of a psychological level necessarily than actually worrying about the form sheet. Form sheet wise, we win that game. Palace is an interesting one. Form sheet wise, that probably is the harder game out of the 2. They've looked really impressive. However, at the same time, I just I don't have that same intimidation with them for some reason at home. I just feel like that's a game that we're going to go and win. And then going into the two, we suddenly hit a couple of newly promoted clubs, Burnley and Sunderland. You're expecting to win those games, right? They're not. I don't think neither of them actually a bad team. Neither of them are anywhere near as bad as some of the other dross that's come up in the last few seasons. It looks like there might be a slight bit of hope that one of this lot actually stay up, but nonetheless, I think we should be looking really. You're looking for 12 points out of this. If I was a betting man, I would be spreading it, at 10 or above, or 9.5 and above, or whatever gets used for that. And more than likely, I think this is almost a bit of a. We've talked about it. We talked about how difficult our fixture list has been up until this point. Well, we've been through the really tough fixture list and we've got ourselves in the first spot. Now you've just got to start steamrolling these a bit, haven't you? I don't care if it's 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, but you just need to keep moving through. And where we've been as a club up until now, I think I was looking earlier on at our Premier League XG statistics at the moment, and we're kind of well out in front in terms of balancing, only being kind of, I think it was around about the 0.5 XG against and 1.5 up versus it. Realistically, we're performing well enough, we're performing consistently enough that we should be able to run through these games without too much of a bother. But there are a couple of difficult sides in there. Fulham and Palace are decent. Palace are looking really good from in a load of the statistical analysis that I've seen at the start of the season, and they've looked really good to my eye on a couple of occasions. But I think you've got to be aiming for 12, haven't you? What do you reckon?
Look, I said there's no point going through all those hard fixtures, ending up top of the league, and then just to mess it up now. This is where you say, right, no, this is when you consolidate, build on that. You're right. I think individually, you'll be disappointed if you drop points in any of those games. And so you really have to be looking at, you maybe accept 10 because, just something happens, but you've really got to be between 10 and 12. I'm expecting to win each one. As we'll talk about Fulham later. Palace, it depends on how they react to the defeat that they had before the international break, because it's one of those ones that you do really well and then you come back and you lose a bit of momentum and get back in. But I'm expecting 12 points. We consolidate top spot, and we've got to make sure if we're going to be serious about winning the league, you've got to win these games. You said there's no point getting through that tough fixture list if you're not going to win these games. So I expect 12. I guess I'd be happy with 10 depending on what happens with the others, but let's see. And in terms of where we might drop points, I've got a sneaky feeling about Sunderland away. I don't know, just that could be the one.
Is it the 5:30 kickoff or whatever it is? It's
5:30,
isn't it? Yeah.
5:30. Saka they said, he shouldn't be.
Don't mention. No, I can't wait for the home leg trim to come back down the Arsenal. No, I can't wait.
Yeah.
Have you seen as well? I mean, side point, but I don't know whether you're going to come to it or not. But Liverpool's fixtures are the same during this same period.
No, I haven't. No, but I know they're tougher. No, I've not seen their fixtures. I didn't really sort of look at them. Do you know them?
I know they've got United, for instance, for just an emotional game. They've got Villa. They've got City, which is the game after. I think on the Wednesday they play Real Madrid, and on the Saturday they play City, something like that. Which is they've suddenly, all of a sudden, they've got quite a lot of very, very difficult looking fixtures. And even so it's quite, it'd be an interesting one, this. And I think that's why you've just got to feel you've got to be utterly ruthless with these Premier League games. I almost don't, I don't really mind if we drop a couple of points in the Champions League at this particular stage. That's kind of played out over a long course, and you only have to look at what PSG did last season. But certainly, I look at these and you go, you can get 12 points here. Yeah. There's a really good chance Liverpool drop a few points, and we can all of a sudden we're looking at extending our lead, going into a key period of the season. So
another break. So let's yeah, let's win them all, and we don't have to worry about anyone else. And then we got Atletico Madrid midweek, and then we're Slavia Prague. Yeah, Slavia Prague, we should be winning away. You expect a bit of rotation there. Atletico Madrid, that's going to be a bit tougher, but they're not. I don't think they're Atletico of old. We should still be too good for them. And if we do the business, early enough against Fulham, and we've got Palace at the weekend, so it's a Saturday, Tuesday, Sunday, so it shouldn't be too heavy in terms of impact on the players. Yeah, maybe a bit of rotation for Atletico, but yeah, we should be getting
Atletico Madrid.
They're not. It's not.
That is.
They're not. I don't think they're the same as old. I know they still got Simeone as manager.
Diego Simeone.
Yeah. I mean, I would take a draw. I don't expect to lose. A loss would be that we shouldn't be losing, but we should be winning that. It's at home. And I think if we beat them, then we've sort of got some great record against Spanish clubs in Europe. But we'll touch about that when we talk about it next week. But so what are you expecting from those two games?
I mean, yeah, Slavia, I think you summed it up, really. You expect a decent win. You expect probably to play a little bit of a League Cup outfit in that one. And not that we necessarily will, because it's still Europe, isn't it? And in fairness, I don't want to be too dismissive about them. But certainly you would expect to see a little bit more rotation for it. Atletico, I think, would be really tough. I think that's going to be a really tough game. Like, I get what you mean. They are not, the Atletico that we're actually going to, threaten to reach Champions League final, or that we're going to, or made a Champions League final, right? Or that we're, winning La Liga. But that is still a very, very, very good team. I think you're still talking, for me, a top 10 in European outfit. So that's that for me is the first big test of the European campaign, and might be, one of the sternest by the end of that campaign as well. So I'd happily take a draw out there by a mile. I mean, if we get a draw out there, I'm delighted.
It's at home, so I think we still have the advantage. Yeah, it's at home.
I forget because I can't go.
So you don't care where it is, you can't go.
Yeah, I don't really give a rat's ass, to be honest. I'm working away, so.
We'll see. We'll talk about it after the Fulham game, and then Arsenal, Brighton, Hove Albion. Yeah, EFL Cup. I'm not sure how many people really care. We should win at home, but again, we lost. Was it 3-1 to them a couple of years back? So it depends. Again, we're going to heavily rotate. They're going to depends what they do. It's one of those ones that could potentially go either way. Again, given what our rotation looks like, we should still be too strong for a lot of teams, even if they put out their first team. So, yeah,
I do care, even if or not just because I am there. But like, I do definitely care, because I do think, again, we've talked about this before, right? At the end of a season previously, it does feel like we should have taken a shot at some silverware, even if it wasn't the best silverware, right? And let's not look a gift horse in the mouth. Still silverware, and we haven't been winning it. So let's keep trying to win something. So it does bother me a little bit. Not that us two being bothered will have any effect whatsoever on us actually going and winning that trophy, but nonetheless, I, personally, at least anyway, I'm actually really looking forward to seeing if we can go and win any given competition at this stage.
Oh yeah, no, I won't take it, and I'm not going to go into that whole debate now.
And indeed, every single competition. How can we expect to win the quadruple if we don't go and win the League Cup? Absolutely,
exactly. So there you go.
It starts with Brighton.
Okay, so there we go. So that's 7 games, 7 wins. There we go. Simples. And but so in terms of how do you think then with that? How do you think he's going to then manage the squad over that relatively friendly schedule? I mean, I think there's enough games, enough minutes available that the whole squad will be used. I think game state will also help us a lot. So if we're winning comfortably, then we can make those changes. But we did find out at the beginning of the international break, and the other major bit of news, that Odegaard had done an MCL injury against West Ham, and so he's going to be back until after the next international break, which is the Spurs game. So with that in mind, particularly with that in mind, who do you think's going to be stepping in? Is it going to be Eze, Merino, Nwaneri? Do we mix up Rice and Nordgaard, and so Rice can play, or all of the above? Don't know. How do you see it working out?
There's like a million players in this squad, isn't there? Like the only gap that we haven't got the only position in that team that we haven't got sufficient depth in feels like it's striker. Yet again, the reasons of I'm making. There's enough. There's enough minutes to go around. The lad who's largely played for us as a 10-minute replacement up until this point, Miles Lewis-Skelly, played 90 minutes as we mentioned earlier on for England. Eze is only starting really to come into the side and easily fits into where Odegaard was and did it against West Ham when Odegaard went off. And then you've got Ethan Nwaneri sat right behind him that we're all desperate to see play a load more minutes. And you've even got Max Dowman as an option there as well. If for the Brighton game, for instance, potentially, I still don't think he'll even start that anyway. It'd be potentially more of a break one or just getting some minutes at various points in time over these games. I think Noni's coming back as well expected to come back between the international breaks. Is he going to be after the international break as well?
I thought it was after. I don't think we're getting anyone back. I know there's talk of Havertz and Noni Madueke being back on the grass, but where they'll be available to
it
play.
Might just be talking about back in training, in fairness, but nonetheless, there's a boatload of talent there. There's a boatload of players. To be frank, if you can't manage to find a way to be able to put together teams that can win these games with the abundance of talent that's there, then there's a bit of an issue, really. The question, I guess, and the challenge for him is that which we've talked about before when we've sometimes been to watch League Cup games where we've struggled a bit, or in particular tended to be in Europe when we play those weaker opposition, a bit like the Slavia Prague that we've got coming up, and we've eked out some kind of 1-0 win, but we've looked a bit rusty. Or towards the end of last season, where in the league we were sometimes picking the weaker team, and we were eking out those draws that we were.
Well, we had that
and that challenge is the combinations. That's the hard bit.
What was it? The 1-0 win. I can't remember the Spanish team, but yeah, when Eri scored that goal, it was just one, but it was like it looked really rusty. It was the one that Neto almost saved it from miles outside the box, sort of thing. You're right. You play these mix and match teams to rest, and there you're right, it does become a bit disjointed.
It's the fluency when you go through rotations. That's the challenge for him. So putting together a team that the starting 11, you line it up against the opposition and it's better. I think we could name a different 11 game a game, and we're probably doing that no bother. You know what I mean? That's absolutely easy for him to do. The difficulty is, how do you get that coherency? How do you get those relationships? How do you get that fluency? This might be an ideal time to build it, actually. You look at the strength of the opposition, you look at the competitions, and maybe you go, you know what, maybe you settle on almost a bit of an A and a B lineup here. Maybe we start to see a bit of Christian Norgard. Maybe we see a bit more of Nwaneri and MLS than we have up to this point. But that's the challenge that he's got. But as I say, that for me is the thing that I'm interested in. Is less of a who does he pick or how does he manage to share the minutes out, and more of a how does he keep that degree of fluency, and how does he build relationships amongst some of those players.
But what's really interesting about that, building the fluency and relationships, is that there's no Havertz and there's no Odegaard. And so even if he does build fluency and relationships, this isn't what he intended. So he's sort of building the second level of fluency relationships in the scenario where he's not quite firefighting, but his first team would contain, I would suggest, Havertz and Odegaard. So it's a really odd one that he's going to build in that fluency, and look, it's no bad thing, because who knows what happens later on in the season and what relationships are needed and stuff like that. But it is an interesting dynamic, the fact that I'm certain that his first team would contain Havertz up front for the big games, for the tough games. The big opposition, it would be Havertz up front, Odegaard would be there, and therefore you're playing Eze in the Odegaard role, where he's most probably penciled in for the left attacking forward role, and then
maybe 1 year he goes over there as well. Isn't another option as well? But I mean, also, I mean, I would just bear in mind, certainly 12 months ago, Julian Timber was not an intended starter when Ben White picked up his injury, and then Julian Timber has become absolutely, without shadow of a doubt, the best right back in the Premier League.
Yeah,
So,
and beyond.
I would question. I would say a part of it as well is these are all opportunities for players, aren't they? So the relationships. You're absolutely right. I get what you mean. You're sort of developing these relationships. Well, maybe we might even find some that are a little bit more optimal. You never know, because that there are times where obviously we're both staunch advocates of Martin Odegaard, I think, but there have been times where he hasn't been as effective as he has been previously. And whilst I don't think we've seen enough from anybody at this point to say you do not start him, you might in the next 2 months see enough out of somebody to say they're now the starter. And the same could happen. I've taken the mick of Victor Gyökeres. It's a little bit cruel, perhaps, but it's not cruel yet because he's a quality striker who'll score lots of goals for us. But if he doesn't turn out to be, if he does turn out to be a quality striker who scores lots of goals for us, then Kai Havertz is going to struggle. Is going to need to find other positions on the pitch to play. So all of these, that's just the nature of competition, I think. And when you've got these injuries, the key thing is we've got class to be able to step into those positions. Then the job for Mikel doesn't change. It's about how do you find the optimal way for those players to work together, and that's your relationships. That's how you build them. And if they form great relationships, and then ultimately other players step back in to compete for those places, those players themselves have to build those relationships. And you're just constantly pushing players to do that. And if he does find something more optimal than some of the guys that we've loved for a couple of seasons, well, so be it. That's kind of the way it is going to be at a top team at this stage.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think you're right. I think they will get minutes. They'll all get minutes, and they all offer something different. Something's better, something's not as good as Odegaard, and I think it'll be a mix and match, and that's why I brought Rice and Nordgaard into it, because if you play Nordgaard, does Rice then push up? You don't need to worry about Merino or Nordgaard, So again, it's about the combinations, I think, because also, what does our Eze starting on the left? Do we have a Merino, Rice, Zubimendi midfield and then put Eze on the left? And then what does that mean for Trossard? Where does Trossard play and stuff? Yeah, so I think it'll be interesting. As I said, not quite horses for courses, but he will sort of like mix it up again, depending on the opposition, depending on game state, and I think there will be plenty of opportunity all round, which is good for the squad. I think they need it. I think one of the challenges of having a big squad is it's not about keeping everyone happy, because you're never going to keep everyone happy, but keeping everyone involved, keeping everyone sort of fresh, so when they're called upon, they're not coming in cold. So I think, and again, that's going to make and like I think you sort of alluded to, we haven't had the same starting 11 for any game this season yet. So we haven't had a repeat starting 11, and I think that's going to continue. And I think the more he does it, I think the better he'll get at it. And then I was going to posit the sort of question then, given the injuries, are there any silver linings, blessing in disguises in having these injuries? If we can cope and if we can manage and stay top of the league or stay in the competitions, can you see there being an upside to the fact that Odegaard has been out and Havertz has been out and Madueke has been out for
competition opportunity, right? I mean, opportunity is a good thing, and it gives players the chance to compete for a shirt. That's the only real upside I see, to be honest. Otherwise, I don't think there is one. I certainly don't buy the idea of get the injury now, don't have the injury later.
No, it doesn't work like that.
Just rather somebody wasn't injured. But no, I think that's always the one, right? It is and maybe timing wise, at least, these next few games look like a probably quite a good one for some players to try and stake a claim and get themselves into a position where they're demanding more minutes, because in a way that they wouldn't have been able to had those opportunities not been there. And
yeah, I mean, I had a couple because I would say there are players like Gyökeres, Madueke, Mosquera. They're getting integrated in the team, playing minutes that they wouldn't have done, I don't think, had the injuries not happened. So definitely Gyökeres, I would say, and definitely Mosquera. Yeah, they've been integrated quicker, so I think that's a good thing. But I think potentially it could be that we'll have key players who are not fatigued come March, April, May, where we're hoped to be challenging in multiple competitions. And that's been a big issue for the last 2-3 years, the drop-off from our top players just because they've had to play all the games, all the minutes, and we haven't had the squad to manage and to sustain the challenge. And I think potentially, if you've had a Havertz who's only played, who's missed out the first 3-4 months of the season, he's going to be fresh as a daisy when it comes to the moments that we hopefully need him. Same as Odegaard, who's missed a big chunk and stuff like that. It could be valuable to us because, as I said, we've fallen off a bit, just fatigue. People have got injured due to fatigue, and we've just not been able to get over the line. And I put that down to it. So if I'm going to take any silver lining from this, if we can get through this, is, as you said, like minutes to players, opportunity for other players, but hopefully we're not all shagged out come winning season. So there we go. So let's fingers crossed on that. Okay, right. So Fulham away on Saturday, 5:30 kickoff. Now, here's a question for you. Do you know what is particularly special about this match and the fact that it's taking place this weekend?
No.
No, but you're going to love it. It's the Kroenke versus Khan double header weekend.
Oh, of course, because literally we're going as well. Yeah, it's the Jacks versus the Rams. Yeah, all right, fair enough. All right, yeah.
It's Stan Kroenke versus Shahid Khan. So not only are they owners of Arsenal and Fulham respectively, but they're also owners of the NFL teams, the LA Rams and the Jacksonville Jaguars, who also play each other on Sunday at Wembley Stadium. As you said, a game we're both going to.
And do they both own statues of Michael Jackson?
I'm pretty sure. I didn't see it when I was at SoFi Stadium, but maybe it's on the list. So it's that double header. So and also I'm a Rams fan. Jamie's an NFL connoisseur. So yeah, we're looking forward to watching both those games. Unfortunately not going to Fulham, but obviously we'll be watching. And also it's a massive tash off, as both Stan and Shahid sport splendid upper lip whiskers.
You've got to be there for it's the tight end look, isn't it? When it comes to which, for anyone who doesn't know anything about American football, is always the term that immediately starts to raise a couple of eyebrows or furrow a moustache. If it does furrow a moustache, then you're probably a tight end. But yeah,
I've never noticed that. I will have to keep an eye out. But now that you're saying that, I'm picturing a few. Is it Tyler Higbee for the Rams and Kittle for the 49ers and other.
When the Movember first came about, it was basically the tight ends led the way by an absolute mile. They're that sort of breed of man, aren't they? Gemini.
So
6'5" and full of tash. Anyway, sorry, we've massively diverged.
Yeah, no, it's fine. So an interesting weekend all round. So back to the football. So we're going to have a side pod on Scottish football and a side pod on the NFL, but we'll stick to the main one.
I just realised Shahid Khan and Stan Kroenke have both also sported some fantastic moustaches too. Actually,
well, that's what I said. Yeah, I mean, if you look at them now, I looked at it. There's
right. Thank God for that. Right, you see, the problem is, we're going with some people of yours that I don't know, and I thought when you first said that you were talking about two of your mates because you said their first name, you didn't say their surnames.
Oh no, sorry,
I've literally just gone back and realised. Oh, hang on a minute, no, it's not his mate Shahid's. No.
no. Even though Andy, who we are going with, has grown a Mario-esque moustache before for his charity runs. But he's the one I'm doing the marathons with. So, but there we go.
One last time, getting back to the point though, absolutely, I'm stoked for this double header. I hadn't quite realised what it was. So yeah. Brilliant.
There we go. So, in terms of other than that, what are you looking forward to and not looking forward to as far as the Fulham game is concerned?
As per usual, I look forward to seeing. You know me, I love to see any of any of our own playing against us, or guys that I used to love playing for the Arsenal. So I will look forward to the return of Wobes and ESR, or not the return, but rather us going and having a word in their gaff. What do I not look forward to? Historical presidents. I do not look forward to whatsoever, because the recent historical precedence is not absolutely fantastic for us in this fixture. They do tend to spring us a surprise, and they're a very good footballing outfit. I really like Fulham, and they are one of those teams that are a little bit unpredictable. They will not, over the course of a season, have enough to be able to sustain, a fantastic record-breaking season. However, they will take scalps at various points in this season because they're a good footballing outfit. And what you've got to see then is Arsenal turn up, be professional, get the job done. And the main thing as well, and this is one of the key things that we've had at Fulham a bunch of times, is we've panicked at certain points against them. I don't know why. It's just one of those fixtures where we have panicked at times with them. And if anything does go, if we do go through any form of adversity in this Fulham game, then we just need to not panic and keep it super, super professional, because we are a better outfit by a big, big distance, player for player, man for man, by an absolute mile. Make no bones about it. There might be a decent side. They're nowhere near in the same class. So, yeah, what I don't look forward to is a repeat of any of that stuff, because that does, unfortunately, you talk about things that kind of ring through your mind and your recent memory. That's the sort of thing that's there for me. So yeah, new, fresh slate would be lovely.
Yeah. I mean, so I'm looking forward to the fact, it's not the international break. We're back in action. On our previous conversation, I'm interested to see how we're going to deal with the Odegaard absence. But yeah, it's time to consolidate top spot, not let anything slip, and start a nice run of winning results. And as you said, Fulham have been tricky of late. We drew 1-1 last year. We lost 2-1, I think, the previous season. They screwed us over at our place when we had that 2-2 draws. So, yeah, as you say, tricky opposition. But, again, if we're going to be champions, these are the games we need to win. Simple as that. Don't care how. Let's go and show who we are and win these games. So, in terms of how do you think then we're going to line up? What do you think? I don't know. It's always a tough one then in terms of what we think the lineup is. What would you like to see versus what Arteta's going to do? So
that's always what I end up talking about anyway, is basically what I prefer to see. So yeah.
Okay. So what you look at? What would you like to see? And I'll go with what I think Arteta will do.
I think the team that started the second half against West Ham. I think we've got. I think it's that strong team, right? It's that Declan Rice. It's first going back from international break. You want to set the stall out, get the win. You don't have your. I mean, immediately. I think probably you go for that side. So that's what back four has been the established back four so far this season. You've got Subi in the midfield alongside Rice and Eza, and then you've got
Trossard.
Well, actually, Trossard interchangeable Martinelli. If I'm honest, actually, maybe you want to see Martinelli get a run at left wing in that game. I don't know. I'm really comfortable with seeing him as this brilliant impact sub at the moment, and you kind of feel like that feels like a really great role for him. If I then say, so that's what I think's likely. Saka on the right, Gyökeres at the front. We all know the rest, right? If I say that's what I think's likely, I think what I'd love to see is Eza on the left and Nwaneri in Odegaard's position.
Okay.
I think that would be my ideal for this game. I think that's a good enough team to go and beat Fulham. I think, to be honest, we could make about 7 more changes, and it's good enough to beat Fulham.
Yeah.
Which is no disrespect to them. I've talked about how very, very good a team they are. Just that's our strength and depth. But I think that'd be a really good lineup to see, and I think we will. We'll potentially see that at some stage in over the course of these games. But yeah, I'd really like to see Ethan get himself a chance at Cam. And the thing with wanting Eze to be on the left then is less about thinking he's my preferred choice on the left necessarily, as we want to see more of him on the left. And we want to see him start to develop some relationships there, because he is going to have to play there at times. He is the most naturally talented of the players who can play on the left now for us. So I would like to see a bit more of him in that run. Having said that, there are other games. The Atletico game springs to mind right away, where I would probably want to see him in that central role.
Yeah, I mean, I had my ideas, and now suddenly a couple of things you sort of maybe rethink. I don't think Waneri starts away from
I don't
home.
think he does, no. But I'd
No,
love
no.
him to.
And if Eze's on the left, we know who's going to be playing in the midfield because Arteta's a fan. So, you'll have Merino. So it'll be Raya, Timber, Saliba, Big G, Calafiori. Okay. But even then, there's question mark Calafiori, maybe MLS, even though you're belittling Israel and Estonia, 2 full 90s. But, we got Atletico. Yeah, because again, you can't take the games in isolation. So what does he do? But yeah, let's assume you're right. We want it. The league is the most important thing. Get in there. Um, you're right. I was thinking Eze, Rice, Zubimendi, and I would say Trossard. Trossard seems to be his trusted left-hand side at the moment, Gyökeres and Saka. But as an alternative, it could be Merino, Rice, Zubimendi, and Eze, Gyökeres, Saka. I wouldn't be surprised to see that. And if not Merino, because Merino will definitely, I'm pretty sure Merino starts against Atletico. So there we go. So yeah, if I'm going to guess at what Arteta might do, but it's what happened at the West Ham game and how that ended. It's intriguing because again, mixing up too much, changing it. No, I think he'll go Eze, Rice, Zubimendi, Trossard, Gyökeres, Saka. And Marino will come into the Atletico.
There's something about the first game after international break that I just think he goes like, here you go, lads, let's get you back together. Let's keep pushing this sort of strongest 11 effectively.
And it's what they played last time, so there's not much having to do in the training ground again and stuff like that. So there we go. So yeah, who knows? It's going to be such a hard thing to guess. I think throughout the season. So I think we've touched on the head-to-head. We could have won last year. A late Saka winner was chalked off for a marginal offside. But bit iffy. And as you said, Fulham, maybe reputation over performance at the moment because they're lying 14th. They've won 2, drawn 2, lost 3, scored 8, let in 11. So -3 goal difference. Their 2 wins have been at home, 3-1 against Brentford and 1-0. I think that was an own goal, against Leeds United. But they recently lost that game, the Semenyo game against Bournemouth away 3-1. They lost 3-1 to Villa, lost 2-0 away to Chelsea, and then they've drawn 1-1 against Man United and 1-1 against Brighton. So, and even the Man United one was, that was the what's his face missing the penalty. So could end up different. So yeah, so they're a bit mediocre, I would say, at the moment.
I think they're that weird kind of mediocre though. Fulham, as I say, they are a team that will.
They can threaten.
They'll consistently put away the majority of the absolute dross. They haven't played any newly promoted yet. They haven't really, and they have actually played, a lot of what you call the upper mid-table teams, alongside a couple of very decent teams. But they're just that sort of team that over the course of the season they will always have a couple of scalps. This has been them for the last few years. They will even out on teams around them. They'll lose the majority of their games to the big clubs, but they will pick up a couple. And it's just that they have enough footballing ability to be able to do that. And to be honest, I could very well be talking about 6 or 7 teams in the Premier League at this stage.
Yeah,
there are
anyone can beat anyone in this league. Anyone can beat anyone.
The very next game sort of speaks to that as well. So these. Yeah, that is the nature of these kind of middle-order Premier League teams now. Crystal Palace are very similar as well. Perhaps I would say with a little bit more individual talent available to them. So, it always has that potential. But if you turn up, as we've said a million times before, our starting 11 is significantly stronger than theirs, even if we put out a second team, if I'm quite honest. So, like Wobes, bless him, bless his cotton socks, ain't getting a game in any way, shape, or form at the Arsenal at this point. Like that's that. He's sat quite far back on that bench. So, and he's probably their most influential player over the last few seasons.
And ESR is a sub for them at the moment. So it just goes to show he's the level he's at. Fulham, they might have
Don't
they've got
break
some
my
injury.
heart.
No, I know, but it's the truth. We all wanted something, but the truth is there that, yeah, he's now a bench player at Fulham. They may have a few injury issues, like Kenny Tete is out till November. Same with Rodrigo Muniz and Sasa Lukic. I think Lukic is a big miss for them. And then also they may have some injury issues up front. So I said Rodrigo Muniz is out, and Jimenez, he came off after 11 minutes in the last game against, I think it was Villa, after scoring a goal. I reckon he'll play. He missed the international break. It was just a strong blow to the hip, so I don't think it was anything major. They put him down as doubtful, but because if they don't have Jimenez and they don't have Muniz, who else have they got to play up front? So that could be tricky for them. So that might benefit us as well. But my sense is that he'll play. But so let's wait and see. And that's for Arsenal, where we all know about the injuries and things like that. So with that said, with the, in inverted commas, anxiousness about going to Craven Cottage, but given that we're better than them in theory, what's your prediction for the game?
I'm going to go for a nice and professional post-international break 2-0.
2-0. Okay. 2-0. I put 2-1 just with that little angst in there. Even though we're so good at defending. Did I? Yeah, I don't know. I think 2-1 Fulham at home.
The thing is, like, 2-0 the Cottage feels slightly arrogant, doesn't it? I sort of get it.
Yeah.
I had doubts my end. I mean, I think a big part of me wanted to go 2-1, but I literally just had that internal dialogue myself and just went, yep, no, it's don't bet against, like he's just said, after their strikers, Muniz isn't there and Jimenez is apparently not particularly fit. Why would you back the guy that we've just talked about earlier on as being mesmeric in goal, and the four defenders that we're going to put out as being beaten by them? But it is what it is, isn't it? It just
can't take that.
Just feels
can't take that angst out of it.
Feels a bit much to go. It's definitely a clean sheet.
Yeah, easy 2-0. Yeah, so there we go, 2-1. We'll see. I think, and then I'll the next episode we'll give an update on our predictions competition. But for now, yeah, we'll keep it at that. Okay, so we're done. Wow, we 111 minutes, 2 blackouts after a post-international break, pre-Fulham pod. I think we've done very well. So again, thanks Jamie for joining me from your location, to be undisclosed.
I don't work for MI5, mate. It's an office in Manchester. It's all right.
From an office in Manchester. But I appreciate it. Thank you for that, and thanks everyone for listening. And if you've made it this far, I know lots of you do. So well done, you. You can follow us on Threads, Blue Sky, X, TikToks, Instagram, all that jazz. Please give us a like, a follow, subscribe on the podcast apps. Leave a comment. That really helps. The next show will be post Fulham, pre Atletico Madrid. And yeah, thank you very much. And we may even give an update on the Jags Rams if you're interested as well. I'm sure we will if Jamie's on the show anyway. So so there we go. As always, thank you for listening, and until the next time, come on you Gunners.